tutorial is going to cover arrays. Before we begin, make sure that you have Java and the Java JDK downloaded on your computer. You can run Java-version in your terminal to check. Also make sure that you have IntelliJ downloaded on your computer. It's suggested that you watch the previous Java tutorials that are in this same playlist. What is an array? An array is an object that stores many values of the same type. All the elements of an array must be of the same type. Vocab. An element is one value in an array, and an index is a zero-based integer to access an element from an array. Arrays are zero-indexed just like strings. Here's an index example. The first element is 0, and the last element is the length of the array minus 1, and everything between is set up in a step block kind of way. So the first one is 0, the second one is 1, the third one is 2, and so on. The big advantage of an array is that it can replace many variables with a single object. A code example. So declaration looks like this. Int, hard braces, the name of the variable, so numbers, equals new, variable type, hard brace, the length of the array, and then a second hard brace. So this creates an array called numbers of length 10. Access looks like int x equals numbers and then hard braces to get the value at index 3, so at the 4th position in the array. And then modification looks like this. Numbers, hard brace, the index you want to edit, another hard brace equals, and the value that you want to set it to. So this sets the value, the element at index 2, or the third element, to 4. The default array values. So the default value for an integer array is 0. So if you create an array of integers of length 5, you'll have 5 zeros before you set anything up in the array. A double's default value is 0.0. The Boolean default value is false. And the string or other object default value is null. It means no object. The length field. An array's length field stores its number of elements. It can be accessed like int hard brace numbers equals new int, so this is the creation of it, and then you can do numbers.length, which will be 10, to get the length of the array. Quick array initialization. You can declare an array and set all of its values at the same time. It looks like this. Int hard braces, or type hard braces, the name of the array, equals curly brace, and then all the values that you want to have in the array, curly brace, semicolon. It's useful when you know what the array's elements will be, and the compiler determines the length by counting the values that you've put between the curly braces. Common errors. Reading an index that is out of bounds, aka not between 0 and the length of the array minus 1. Reading or writing any index outside this range will throw an array index out of bounds exception. Creating an array of objects like strings, which are defaulted to null for every position, and then trying to call a method on an element. Trying to call a method on a null element will throw a null pointer exception. Limitations of arrays. You cannot resize an existing array. You cannot compare arrays with equals equals or dot equals. An array does not know how to print itself. It will just print its memory address if you try. The arrays class. The class arrays in Java in the package java.util has useful static methods for manipulating arrays. It helps solve some of the limitations of an array. So you have a binary search, which will return the index of a given value in a sorted array and it will be less than 0 if it's not found. So it'll be a -1 if the value doesn't exist in the array. And again, the array has to be sorted. Copy of will return a new copy of an array, where length is how much of the array you want to copy. Equals will return true if the two arrays contain the same elements in the same order. Fill, array and then value, sets every element to the given value in the array. Sort arranges the elements in sorted order. ToString returns a string representing the array, such as 10, 30, -25, 17, in hard braces separated by commas. The syntax for usage is arrays.methodName and then the parameter, and you have to import java.utils.arrays in order for it to work. Some more vocab. Traversal means an examination of each element of an array. Arrays and for loops. It's common to use loops to access array elements. So to do a traversal of the whole array, you would use a for loop. Here's an example. We have numbers, which is equal to 12, 49, -2, 26, 5, 17, -6. And then we run over the whole array from 0 to the length of the array, strictly less than, because we don't want to get an index out of bounds error. And then we print out numbers at I, so each number at each position, and that'll print out 12 space 49 space -2 space 26 space 5 space 17 space -6. Now for some exercises. Let me get this into split screen. Okay. So the first exercise is, what is the output of the following code? We have an array of length 5, and then we set position 1 to Olivia and position 3 to Isabel, and then we try to get the length of position 0. This is going to throw a no pointer exception because the default value for a string array is null, and we haven't set number names 0 to anything except for null. So we can't call .length on a null value. Okay. Write a method that takes in a base and a power and stores the powers of the base in an array up to the given power. Then print out the array at the end of the method. So let me create a new package, arrays, and new Java class, array exercises. And as always, we're going to do public static void main string args. Okay, so we have an array that takes in a base and a power, so public static void print powers, int base, int power. Okay, so we're going to assume that int and base are always positive. So we're going to start the value at 1 and say for int I equals 0, I less than or equal to power, plus I, because we want to go through to power, right? So we have to do greater less than or equal to. So let's create the array that's going to hold all of our values up to the power. And we want to include the 0 power, right? Because we want to include the 1. So we want to say int powers equals new int power plus 1. Because we want to include the 0 all the way up to power. So we need to have power as an index, which means we need to do power plus 1 for our length. And so here we can say powers I equals value, and then do value times equals base, so that the next time it runs, it'll be the next one. And then we want to do arrays.toString powers. And it automatically imported arrays for us once it saw that we didn't have it in there. If it didn't do that, you would do Alt-Enter, and it would give you options for importing the class. Now let's test this. 2, 4. Run. Array exercises. Oh, silly me, I forgot to print this. System.out.println arrays.toString. And there we go. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, just like we expected for 2 and 4. Now there is a math method I could have used to do this, right? I could have used math.pow base I and casted it to an integer instead of using value to keep track of keep track of what it was doing, but I like using value because I don't have to recalculate the power every time. Okay, let's look at the next exercise. Write a method that prompts the user for 4 numbers. Store the numbers as they enter in an array. After they have entered the numbers, print out the largest and the smallest numbers in the array. So I'm going to say public static void print what smallest, largest first, so largest and smallest. And I'm going to take in a scanner scan. Don't need that extra. And I get a problem here because it doesn't recognize the symbol. So now I can do Alt Enter, and I want to import scanner.util. And now I have this at the top. Okay. So let's see. System.out.println. Enter 4 numbers. So now I want to create an array to store the numbers. So I'll have int nums equals new int 4. So now I want to say for int I equals 0, I less than nums.length plus plus I. So now I can do nums I is equal to scan.nextInt. Right? Because nextInt will get me the int of whatever is there. And so now I want to get the largest and the smallest. And the easiest way to do that is to sort my array and then pick the thing off the front and the thing off the back. So I can do arrays.sort nums. Whoops. And now I can do system.out.println largest plus nums.length minus 1. That'll give me the thing at the end. And system.out.println smallest plus nums 0. So let me not do this anymore. And let me say scanner scan equals new scanner system.in. And now I can do print largest to smallest scan. So I'll hit play again in order to run my code. There's that code. And it wants me to enter 4 numbers, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And the largest was 4 and the smallest was 1, just like I expected. Let me take off this println so that way everything's on the same line. And rerun it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 0. The largest was 6, 7, and the smallest was 0, just like we expected. Exercise number 3. A Fibonacci sequence is a sequence of numbers where the current number is the sum of the previous 2 numbers. Write a method that creates a Fibonacci sequence that is stored in an array and prints it. So we want to do this Fibonacci sequence. So public static void print Fibonacci. So the first things first is create an array. An array is going to be of length 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So int fibs equals new int 8. And first things first, we want to set the first 2 elements of fibs. So we're going to say fibs 0 equals 1 and fibs 1 equals 1. That'll give me the first 2 here. And now I can have a for loop that starts at 2. Int height equals 2. I less than fibs.length plus plus I. And now I can say that fibs I is equal to fibs I minus 2 plus fibs I minus 1. Give the right spacing here. And now I can do system.out.println arrays.toString fibs. And I'm going to call print Fibonacci and press play. And it printed out my Fibonacci sequence just like I expected. 1, 1, 2, which 2 is 1 plus 1, 3, which is 2 plus 1, 5, which is 3 plus 2, 8, which is 5 plus 3, 13, which is 8 plus 5, and 21, which is 13 plus 8. So it worked. Awesome. And now we have our practice for later. Write a program that prompts the user to enter a number of days to keep track of the weather, and then prompt the user for the temperature on that many days as a whole number in degrees. Then print the average temperature, how many days were above the average, the temperature on the 2 coldest days, and the temperature on the 2 hottest days. And that's it. I hope that was helpful.